Okay, guys, so thank you all for joining us. Alex is working on the technical difficulties that we have grown to know and love. And then Matt will be able to share his screen here shortly. This is Matt Pappendorf from Dell Technologies. He is a brand strategist. Would you like to tell them a little bit about yourself and your role?
Sure. I have a nice fancy slide that kind of kicks it off.
Okay,
And,
you
and
can do
Amber,
it
thank you
then.
for the. No, that's okay. I don't mind. Let's fill some time while we
Okay.
got it. I've been with Dell for about 5 years now, and specifically in my role, I kind of bridge the gap between the offerings that Dell sells for strategy to our sales reps to help educate them on the need for security and why it is a pertinent purchase for them if they're building out their suite of products for a company. So basically, long and short of it is I'm one of the security experts at Dell, and I have some information around getting started. What does the industry look like today? A few things that have kind of changed with the environment around COVID and what we can expect potentially the environment to look like, and then some general tips around what to expect if you're trying to get off the ground building a security suite for yourself.
Excellent. So I've been telling people, I don't care how new or small you are, in this day and age, you absolutely do have to worry about data security. So come learn more about it here. Alex says that you are good to go. You should be able to share your screen now. And just a little bit of house. Try refreshing your screen, and I'll tell the audience.
Okay.
If you drop off, they can just listen to me talk for a minute.
All right. Hopefully I'll come back.
And then to the audience, you guys, what we're going to do is Matt's going to be sharing some of his expertise about security and data protection for small business. And then I'm going to turn my screen off so that you can see him and his presentation better. And if you'll put your questions in the chat, I'll pop back on screen and ask those questions for you if it fits into where he's at in his presentation. If it doesn't, go ahead and ask any questions you want, because if it doesn't fit into where he's at, we'll come back and address those at the end. Sound good?
Right. Can you hear and see me? I'm going to go ahead and see what I can. Wonderful. Give me one moment. Let me share my content. Thank you, everybody. I know Amber did a great job kind of leading this on, but thank you for everybody's patience. Let me go ahead and get this kicked off. And please, Amber, let me know when you can see my screen and go with the teams.
I can see it's loading, and now I see your screen. So I'm going to toggle off. Can you see my face right now, Matt?
I sure can.
Okay, so I'll toggle off, and if there's a question that pertains to where you're at in your presentation, I'll turn my screen back on, and that'll be me raising my hand, basically. But I'll police the chat for you, and I'm looking forward to it.
Wonderful. And to those who are joining us, I know you can hear my voice, can't see my face. I know Amber kind of did a nice segue into it. But truth be told, I do talk a lot, but I do love questions. So just let her know, flag her down in some way. I'm happy to try and address them as best that I can mid-presentation as they come up. But definitely looking forward to sharing everything with you guys. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so I kind of talked a little bit about this, but to any of the stragglers, my name is Matt Pappendorf. I'm one of the brand strategists here at Dell. I primarily work with a small business team to bridge the gap from our small business folks that you speak to on the phone when considering purchasing a Dell computer and our arm of security for our company. So it is my job to not just stay abreast to all that's going on in the world of PC security, but make sure our Dell sales teams are experts in that area as well. So I'm going to share with you some pretty interesting information today. Ahead here. So I'm going to cover more or less 4 areas, and we'll probably keep this relatively succinct. But I want to kind of talk about where we stand right now with the security threat landscape. Unfortunately, there's a little bit of a scare tactic here, but I do want to let everybody know that these things are real, and we should keep security for our PC and mobile devices top of mind. I do want to talk about our new world that we live in with everybody working from home. It's a virtual world in many ways, and basically how we're adapting to what has changed around, I guess, this COVID environment that we're all in. And I'm going to make this a little bit more relevant to you guys today, why security should matter to startups and small businesses, and then we'll kind of segue into where to get started if this is something that's new to you, as well as some tips and tricks and things to kind of be on the lookout for if you're trying to build this out for yourself. So let's go ahead and get started. All right. I have a lot of words on the slides, but I'm going to kind of talk to the big talking points. So realistically in this, what I want us all to take away from it is just think about yourself as a user of digital PCs, of mobile devices, and kind of just where we stand today with our device usage. So I mean, I can't speak for all of you, but I know I am attached to my phone or my PC for work constantly. And when you think about just me as an individual, and when you look at 2018 to 2019 with the first talking point there, and where we're going to be after we measure 2020, it's no surprise to see that consumers, and I'm speaking broadly to just users of devices online, where we spend most of our time each day, it's going up dramatically. I can speak to myself definitely being attached to the internet constantly. And when you think about how I use it, it's not just for work, but I am a glutton for Amazon. I'm a glutton for ordering food at home. And when I think about the way I interact with my sites or the products that I utilize, most of them require some sort of form of digital login, digital footprint, or fingerprint, however you want to say it. So in all of the ways that I interact with these seamlessly, harmless sites or devices, when you stop and think about your daily activity and how many times you're asked to log in or access things, your personal data is all over the place. And when you think about, if your credit card is attached to it, or whether or not you have a social security number, paying your bills online, things like that, not just myself, but when we think about it from a small business mindset, our customer data is out there as well. So as a whole, as we become more digitally involved, we're putting our personal data and our basic footprint out there much more than I think people realize. And because of that, it is a lot easier for hackers, and I just kind of use the general term there, to find a way to get access to a lot of our content and a lot of our personal data. So, again, I think the talking point here is we're getting more digital savvy, and the hackers are getting smarter as well. And kind of talking about that as well, we actually partner with McAfee here at Dell. It's one of the brands that I work with intimately. I've been with them for about 5 years. We actually sell McAfee at Dell as one of our security products, and I'll talk about that later on. But we actually work in partnership with them, and they do a lot of analysis around the trends and things that they're seeing. So these are current from what we're seeing within 2020, and I can kind of talk about some of the highlights here, but we are seeing growth in the second point in mobile malware. Everybody is using their devices. My iPhone, I'm using it like a computer and using it, much more than I do my laptop. So we're seeing malware and threats growing on phones dynamically than we've done before because of usage. Again, the third point, mobile malware, it's jumping up dramatically because of phone usage. And I am not cool enough to be a Bitcoin user myself, but I know a lot of people are using cryptocurrency as a new format of financial trading as well as financial banking. And the hackers are also getting smart in ways of getting into the cryptocurrency viruses and finding ways to access people's data and their financial information through that as well. So again, like I said at the beginning, it's a little bit of a scare tactic here, but I really just want to highlight that the smarter we get, the smarter the hackers get, and they're not going to stop. And I think the big talking point is there on the right. And it sounds a little scary, but for us coming out of Q2 and McAfee, on average, when you think about it, there are 6 new computer viruses being created every second. And that when you think about just what's out there, that's kind of a daunting number. Now, we may not get as users hit with these viruses, but it just goes to show the propensity and speed at which hackers are trying to create new ways to get at our data. And here we go. As small business users, we need to be mindful of the industry as well. So let me know when you can see the new slide here. Let's see, it's going slow. There we go. We need to be mindful of our customers' concerns as well. So when we do a tab of and a little bit of a measurement of where we stand in the US, as well as potentially other areas, top users of mobile technology, you can see UK, Japan, Germany as well. But when they look at what the customers are most afraid of when they talk about interacting with their mobile devices in this industry, it's personal data and personal finance data specifically. And a lot of that is, and I know it's kind of a word salad here, but a lot of that really just comes down to the fact that people are now being invited into this highly mobile world and highly, sophisticated devices. And going back to my first point, they're asked for passwords all over the place, and they know they're just putting their personal data at risk. So it's a number one concern for PC and mobile users. And then what they're starting to realize as well as risky behavior is, and just think about personal data here. I used to travel considerably prior to COVID, and I'll step into that in my next slide here, but I used to use Wi-Fi connections in airports and restaurants and airplanes, things like that. And if I'm not a savvy security user and I happen to log into an open Wi-Fi network without proper security measures, any of the work that I'm doing for personal, or if I am logging and using devices or work-related tabs or customer data on that open Wi-Fi without security measures, I'm basically exposing my customers' data to potential hackers as well. So realistically, these talking points, they all set the table to basically sit there and say, hey, it's a scary world out there, and our customers and also myself and users like me, we're kind of aware of what's going on. So we need to be mindful when we work with our customers and build our small businesses here, specifically in startup mindset, that if we're going to be dealing with personal data of our customers, financially specifically, we need to be mindful of creating a safe space that our users and our systems for our business are secure, so our customers feel comfortable giving, potentially personal identifying content to us, and just building that trust moving forward. So moving into the next piece. Oh, I see a question.
Yes, it's actually me, but it
came up.
pertains to what you were just talking about, and I'm sure I can't be the only
Sure.
one thinking this. So
I will go back.
where is it safe to use Wi-Fi if you are working remotely, and what can be safely done, say, on your laptop at the local coffee shop?
Sure, no, that's a great question. So actually, to be honest with you, any Wi-Fi network is truly safe to use, but you have to take security measures around using it. So, I am going to kind of, speak about some of the graces of working for Dell. We actually have some VPN, and I'll speak to this product, but a virtual private network. There's other terms for it, but I just call it VPN for short. We have this piece of technology built into, or the security measure, I should say, built into all of our systems and mobile devices. And basically what it does is before you go online or access that Wi-Fi network, whether it's your PC or your mobile device, you go on, you turn this security measure on, and it basically masks your IP from that network. And the IP address is what hackers would be utilizing to basically jump in and try and comb data from you. So by masking it and hiding your activity on that network, you basically become, and I'm paraphrasing here because I'm not a tech wizard, but essentially you become like a ghost to them and they can't track your activities. So by accessing the VPN, you can utilize those those Wi-Fi networks that are otherwise potentially insecure or unsecure, and then go ahead about your daily business or activities, knowing that you will not be sharing that information out there. And then, of course, when you deactivate the Wi-Fi network, you go ahead and click it off, and you should be good to go. So hopefully
yeah,
that answers.
Thank you very much. That was great.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to it, but basically to sum it all up, anytime you're using a Wi-Fi network, there's wonderful programs out there that basically mask your IP, and you can go ahead and use them safely. All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room. COVID and how we're all surviving. So I'm going to assume that everybody here on this call has been kind of affected in some way of this new work from home virtual environment. And I can say I've gotten very comfortable at home, as have many people. But just because I'm working from home and I've had this new cool home office and drink a lot of coffee, what we've found is as our workforce has adapted to this new environment, hackers have as well. And again, I speak in a broad term with hackers, but what we're starting to see is a change of worker behavior and consumer behavior. And because of that, we know that more people are going to be accessing, mobile technologies through their phone or using Wi-Fi connections because they're, working 9 hours through, the web. So we're seeing more viruses come on. We're seeing, a usage, and actually, great talking point, Amber. We're seeing VPN usage being tapped by consumers. Again, the third talking point here: more work from home campaigns are being pushed by businesses and finding ways to secure them. And then what we actually saw here at Dell and we're continuing to see is businesses and users are shifting towards laptop purchases because they're very quickly trying to mobilize their workforces to be able to work from home in this new environment. So what this all does is it spins up the hacker mindset, and what we're starting to see is, in a nutshell, internet usage is up dramatically, and cyber criminals are starting to get smart. So the ring chart there, the three areas that are starting to get hit the most, these are McAfee Labs, what we're pulling. Healthcare, banking, and education tend to be the big three. And healthcare, I think, makes sense because I think during the COVID times, everybody's freaking out about how to stay healthy, where to go to potentially get a test, buy a mask, medication techniques or symptoms around an illness, whatever it may be. People are going to, they're freaking out. They're going to just web addresses and things like that. That could be, you can't see me doing it because my camera's not on, but air quotes, links out there on the web that are, potentially WebMD adjacent that may otherwise not be safe. And we find a lot of people just clicking on these sites and giving up personal information and getting hacked because they're just trying to find healthcare information. So right now, that is a huge kind of scare out there, is a dynamic number of medical websites being infected with a virus technology. And you can see that in some of the talking points down there. I think the big one also I want to point out, and this is a fun word that I just learned through the whole process, is Zoom bombing. Uh, Hackers are actually starting to get smart, and if they can get into your network, and let's say you're a small business and you're having a very important financial meeting or something like that, meeting up with a startup, angel investors, things like that, and you're utilizing Zoom or your camera or kind of just Teams to build that. What I should say, those calls, they can actually hack into your PC and jump on your Zoom meetings and actually hack information that way. And if you're sharing pertinent information like, I don't know, customer finance data, financial data to your company, anything that would be potentially a threat, they're able to capture that through that Zoom meeting. So it is just things that we didn't realize would become a threat have now become a threat, and it's just this world that we live in. And I see a question, Amber. Go ahead.
So because Zoom bombing, as we've talked about, is people like it's like photo bombing, right? So they pop up in a meeting where they don't belong. So are you saying that someone could actually be capturing information in a Zoom meeting even though they're not visible?
Yes.
Oh, scary. Okay.
It is very scary, which is why whenever we I say we with air quotes and utilize it, which is why whenever we as a company are doing, or personal data, like I had a doctor's appointment a couple of weeks back over a webcam, and things like that happen, and it's kind of part of our normal life. We need to make sure that we have a secure internet connection, and we are utilizing, and I'll kind of cover these points a little bit as well, but secure internet connection, our PCs or mobile devices have antivirus software built in or security measures around it. So worst case scenario, we have put kind of gateways and blockage in place to where we are not able to allow people in. And if we're just using open Wi-Fi network, just internet everywhere, and just jumping on a screen share, potentially we're putting ourselves at risk. So hopefully I answered your question, Amber. I'm not
That was
entirely
great.
sure if yes, yeah. So I think long and short of it basically, this is a new thing we need to be terrified of.
Great, because it's running low.
Yes, yeah. Let's scare everybody. So now that everybody's sweating and freaking out and worried about how they're going to protect their customers or their startups, I really want to highlight why we are at risk and why we are the quote unquote demographic to be targeted. And it really sums up into 3 points. And I'll talk about kind of that bottom piece there, the four lease among small businesses. This is really what hackers go after. First and foremost, smaller businesses, primarily startups. And again, I'm speaking in generalizations, but our numbers tally that roughly 70%, 71 of you guys do not have the equipment or the network or the security measures from Go set up to protect yourselves from a threat. In comparison to like big box companies or mega web companies, things like that, they have networking teams and server farms and all of these ways to, and very good lawyers, and all of these ways to protect themselves. But as a small business and a startup just getting started, a lot of folks who are in this place may not set their businesses up with the correct security measures, and hackers know this, so they are ripe to get taken. And when you think about it, although they're dealing with customers that may be smaller, the hackers are still getting customer data. A credit card number or social security number from a small business is still usable, whether it's coming in from a startup or it's coming from like a target.com. Either way, they're getting information. So number one, we need to be mindful that we are probably the demographic hit most, so we need to be secured from the get-go. Hackers love access. Another thing about startups and employees, and I worked for one well before Dell, is employees aren't taught through corporate, and again I'm generalizing, but the corporate training metaphors and startup mindsets of like, hey, we need to practice good behavior. So if we have our employees knowledgeable of how they utilize their devices, and if they're traveling, and if they're using the devices a lot, which we expect them to do specifically today, we need to make sure that they're practicing clean security behavior. We can't have people walking away from a computer if they're logged in at a coffee shop, or they're not logging in with their proper VPN or security tools or things like that. So if we have good, clean security behavior, and our employees know that, then we are setting a good precedent that our business will be safe, as well as we can protect our customers as well, because we know we're clean in that area. And then also, I kind of mentioned this as well, kind of in the 3 points, but we measure Visa, and 95% of credit card breaches happen from small businesses. And it really comes down to me making those 2 earlier talking points. It's small businesses and startups don't have the same setup nor the same clean behavior. So because of that, customer credit cards or even business credit cards usually going to get hacked from a startup or small business mindset.
Yikes.
So what does this all mean?
95%?
Oh, sorry,
That's amazing.
yes, it
Okay.
is. And when you really stop and think about it, I'm going to add a little thing about it here. It's not just like people who are sitting in front of a computer doing like internet technologies. I'm talking like contractors or chimney sweepers or plumbers who are coming to your house, and they do, work, and then they'll use their mobile device with like a square or some sort of swipe technology. And if that device is not, secure through their network the right way, or the employee does not, access it correctly, all of these little transactions over a day's work, I'm basically putting my credit card up for a hacker, as well as that device can get hacked from a smart hacker as well. So making it a little bit more real to things that we see, as opposed to just sitting in front of a computer and typing in, PowerPoint all day. So there are different ways for them to get at it. But the big talking point, and I do stress this in all of my trainings, is small and medium businesses that suffer a breach go out of business within 6 months, and 60% of them specifically. And the reason why, and this is the fact behind it, is if I'm a small business or a startup and I've built a customer base of 100 customers and I have their credit card information, what have you. And I'm going to use this contractor example I just said. If some of my employees somehow don't practice clean security and we have a credit card breach in my business, all of my customers' data goes up. They will now, be a threat, and it's all swept, and I'm hurt. If I am lucky to have business insurance and maybe a good bank account with the money to kind of recoup, that's great. I won't have to pay out of pocket, which as of right now is about $300 per customer. And don't quote me on it. This is the last time I saw it, but about $300 per customer litigation to get them their personal identification and their financial records kind of clean again. So that's 100 customers, $300 a piece. If I have a good lawyer or I have a security a team around it and finances to take care of it, great. But the reason why a lot of these small businesses go out of business is they lose their customer base. I'll have terrible Yelp reviews. No one will want to work with me because my 4-star rating now has gone down to a 1, and people are very vocal on the internet if they've had a bad experience. So if I utilize customer reviews to grow my business, I'm going to lose it not only financially, but I'm going to lose a customer base that basically is the lifeblood of my business. And that is why most businesses after a breach go bankrupt and out after 6 months. It's because a groundswell of people just don't want to do business with them. So that's a lot of information. But any questions on this? Otherwise, I'll trudge ahead.
Good.
Cool. Great. That means I'm doing a good job.
That's correct.
Okay, excellent. Let's see if this slide here. Sorry, it's a little slow on my end. So again, continuing thought, as a small business owner or a startup, obviously you're going to be dealing with your customers. So kind of leaning in to some of the previous slides, we need to be mindful of what our consumers and our customers are going to be fearful of. So just as a whole, understanding their practices, understanding kind of in the midsection there what scares them, and in the environment that we currently work in, specifically in the COVID, we need to understand how our consumers are terrified. And that being said, I think the big message here is if we are building a small business and building a customer base and a startup mindset, we need to practice, going back to the previous slide, practice clean security behaviors by having mobile security enabled, by having a small or a functional endpoint security for our systems, and then also reassure to all of our customers that if they are going to be interacting with our employees or our system or doing any kind of transactions, whatever, that they can trust us to manage their personal data, whether they are giving us a credit card number or what have you, in the right way so that they are not going to be susceptible to a fraud. Because at this point, kind of what the message here in the slide is, because of all of those oncoming threats I talked about earlier, our consumers are starting to be more skeptical of sites and businesses and interactions online that require them to interact with personal data. So we just need to adapt and provide that level of reassurance that we're doing right by them. And of course, I mentioned this a little bit, but I do want to highlight, again, it goes beyond security on our PCs. I know we may use that for work, but I really want to hit home on this mobile security mindset because I think this is kind of the future, and that's not me trying to sound, like a prophet. I think it's just from usage and what we're seeing. We're starting to realize that mobile hotspots and Wi-Fi connections are not as secure as they used to be. Not only are we utilizing them more, but we're also starting to realize that the consumer behavior around it, compared to 5 years ago, that last talking point, is people are starting to become more, mobile savvy, but also more fearful of mobile interactions as well. And if I am a startup or a small business that relies on a mobile interaction of some kind, we need to be mindful again of practicing good security behavior to ensure that our customers are protected should they decide to go that route. So Again, kind of talking here, remote working environments are now the new reality. So this kind of steps into what we can expect and where we need to go protecting our businesses. So now that we know over half of the employees are going to be working from home at least one day a week, I think most at this point are almost at 100%, we're actually starting to realize that VPNs, which used to be just kind of a, hey, if you're on the go, protect your network, it's now needing to be, hey, if you work remotely, which is now every day, you need to have some form of Wi-Fi security. And we're seeing the rise, exponential. The talking point there is it's 2005. So, this is not going away. And I'm going to kind of have a little plug here, but Dell and McAfee have had a business relationship for about 15 years. And I have actually had the pleasure of working in that security space for 5 of it, as I think I mentioned earlier. And we do sell a suite of products. And of course, you can find many products on the market that do similar levels of security and are robust in many different ways. We sell a LiveSafe product, which is consumer focused, a small business product, which is great for small businesses and startups, and then a VPN solution now, and they're called SafeConnect. But I wanted to highlight the small business security tool. And this is a really great selling point for Dell when you talk to our sales reps. What makes this a unique product, it is built with the mindset of a small business or a startup behavior because they recognize a lot of these small businesses are not going to have like an IT person to really manage their business's security. A lot of times, in the startup I worked for prior to Dell, our CEO was also the finance guy and also the security guy, and that's a very common place for companies that are 15 employees. So this solution has what we have an admin console, which is kind of one of our selling points, and I think this speaks to where to start for your security solutions for your businesses is ask about the functionality. So, and how it will work for your business, because you want to make sure your security is a good foundation to do, protect you and your customers the right way, but it also needs to be of ease of use. And this tool in particular that I speak to, that we sell to our small businesses, it is basically set up with kind of a dummy kind of mindset in mind. It's a graphical user interface, all of the PCs that are connected to it, mobile tablet devices, all of them, it's just a couple clicks and notifies them of any security threats or updates that need to be taken place. So this is, again, just a highlight of a product that we sell. But to reiterate, for a small business and a startup, be mindful of the ease of use of the product, because we want to make sure our customers who are starting off small, trying to grow big, they can utilize a tool that's actually going to secure them rightly for where they are in their business practices. So, kind of the bullet points. Oh, I see a question here, Amber. Go ahead.
Sure. So what about if a package is not enough to make someone feel safe that they're protecting their data, what about fractional IT relationships? Is that something that you can speak to for a second?
In what way? And I don't want to misspeak, so I'm going to kind of answer your question with a question. Can you elaborate? Because I'm more practice in endpoint security, which is kind of where we're at. And for those of us on the call here, endpoint security is basically going to be software on the device that protects.
Okay, got it. That makes sense. All right, cool. Continue.
Yeah. No, not a problem. We do have folks here at Dell. I just happen not to be the specialist in that area that are very good with IT fractional kind of security measures. I speak specifically to a small business minded on the device.
Gotcha.
Protection.
Okay. Well, I will post those office hours again, so that if somebody does have a question, they can get in touch with that department.
No, and that's a terrific question. I just am not specialized enough to answer it, so I don't want to give our viewers here any misinformation.
That's great. Thank you.
So. Of course. So I know I've spoken a lot to all these points and measures and things like that. But if I'm starting a small business and I'm talking to you, who's also starting a small business, we're both startups trying to get this going. the three things that I think we can really do here to make sure we're starting off on the right foot, or at least building it in existence as our business is already going. Make sure that we have a reliable virtual private network or VPN. There's a lot of tools and solutions on the market. I know Dell sells them with all of the devices that we promote and sell online. It's starting to become a standard offering on all our devices. So have one for your business. Make sure all your employees utilize it when they are traveling or at least remotely connecting through a Wi-Fi, whether that's at home or on the go. And then make sure that you have an antivirus solution and endpoint security, as I mentioned just now with Amber, on your devices. So whether it be a laptop or a home PC or wherever your employees or you are going to be doing work for your business, make sure that there's an antivirus solution available and active and up to date on your system, because worst case scenario, if there is some sort of breach, that program will do a terrific job of preventing it from infecting and wreaking havoc on your system. And then, of course, I've mentioned this a couple times as well, but make sure that you and your employees are practicing good security behavior, because when you really think about the way a hacker can get into, and again, I'm kind of generalizing here, but the hacker can get into it, is the VPN protects the network so they can't get in. If by some reason they somehow can find a way to get in, we have that antivirus solution to protect them. And then again, number 3 protects both. If we're practicing those good behaviors, we shouldn't have a worry. So, here's the Dell plug, of course, down there at the bottom. We do have, if you are purchasing a Dell computer or even just have questions about your Dell technology, if you're an existing member who's purchased already, all of our reps are well-versed in small business and security needs for small businesses. So if you have questions or want to purchase products or things like that for your small business, they are well versed in being able to set you up with what you may need. And they don't just sell you on a product, they're trying to understand what your business need is, and they will have a security solution built for you appropriately as needed. Again, following into this plug here, I know I work with a lot of wonderful people here at Dell. We do have an entrepreneurs program. So if that is something that you have an interest in as you're building your small business and startups, this is the information here. We do have dedicated support, technology, and rewards for people who are a part of this. So this would be the great way to reach it and kind of just step up and be a partnership with Dell here moving forward. So that would kind of lean in on my fun last slide here. What I'm going to go ahead and do, I'm happy to move to any of the slides, but I'm going to be polite and I'm going to go ahead and put my face back on the screen and answer any questions in real time if people can see my face. And let's see if I can answer some of those questions.
Yes.
If there are.
So far, no. You guys can put your questions in the chat, or I think you should have on your screen a button that says join the conversation or share audio video or something like that. So if you wanted to come on and add a question in person, you can do that. But my boss tells me whenever I do a presentation and nobody has any questions that I must have nailed it. So.
Well, that's good for me considering I do this for a living. So if it got littered with questions, it means I'm not doing a good job.
Well, I actually wrote down a couple while you were talking. So until we hear from somebody, sure, I'll ask those. So what about, I know this is mainly about small business, but it affects humans.
I see one here.
Oh, cool.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, do you see it?
Yeah. Yeah. Ken? Yeah, so best VPN antivirus combo for iPhones that allows for speed on VPN.
That's a good question.
So that's a great question. So I'm going to go down this rabbit hole. So I hope you don't mind.
I love rabbit holes.
I am an iPhone user myself, and one of the things that makes Apple products unique from an open source Android product is there's kind of a misnomer out there in the industry that if you are an Apple user, you don't need security. Mm-hmm. That's not necessarily true. I will stand by Apple products are because they're much more app focused. Mm-hmm. So with an Android phone or an Android tablet, you are adding apps through open source software to your device. And because it is open source and the places that you can download those programs and apps from could be Amazon, Google Play, third-party websites, things like that, those apps and programs are much more susceptible to have malware on them. Where with Apple, you are going directly through an app store that is Apple focused. So because of that, they do a better job of cleaning and securing those apps that you would use on your phone. So yes, they can get viruses, but it is through user error. And that is the point that comes into practicing good security behavior, which is your question here, a good VPN antivirus combo. I have clean phone, but if I'm not clean behavior, I can go to sites and literally just invite viruses on there because I'm a dummy and I'm not paying attention. So to answer the question, a good combo. I know I'm going to speak to a few of our competitors, but I'm going to also speak to what we sell here at Dell. McAfee has a great solution where you can get a VPN solution and mixed in, and it's our small business security, and our VPN solution is called Safe Connect, and they work hand in hand. And it is literally just an app you click on and then connect to the Wi-Fi, and it's easy and good to go, and it will not mess with your speed of Wi-Fi. Another solution out there, I know Norton and I believe they are LifeLock. I think they are merged. I know they have another solution on there if that is a brand that you're particularly subscribed to. And then I know NordVPN, and that is not an antivirus solution. That is a VPN solution just on its own. I know they have a good track record as well. So again, I just want to highlight, because I am a Dell employee, I have to say this. We use these solutions as Dell employees, and we sell them to our customers in the same way. So we do stand by our product, and McAfee does tend to be a good product in the market, but I do know there are other solutions as well available. I think the big talking point here is I would rather you be secure with a solution that fits for you than not. So find what's best, and that's a good thing. And if you're actually on the market and searching around, there's a lot of combos available out there that will be sold either through Amazon or things like that that come with a antivirus and VPN. If you buy them of the same brand, they're going to work better as opposed to doing a buffet style and trying to build a security solution off that. So I hope that answered
no buffets for data security. Got it. That was a good question.
Right.
You've got another one here from Dennis, and I know Dennis. He's one of our entrepreneurs here in DFW. He has a returns and inventory management software. So I actually reached out to him and was like, "You probably need to come to this."
So if I'm reading the question correctly, because it's like a small little...
What is a good starting point for startups to begin in terms of implementing cybersecurity?
Okay, so this is not the first time I've gotten this question. A lot of times, and again, I'm speaking in generalizations, but startups usually work with investors and individuals to kind of get them going. They may not be at that stage yet, but I do know startups do tend to talk with a lot of business entrepreneurs and people in the industry. And a great way to start that conversation is people that you are either relying on for heavy business, or for example, if you're a technology startup, information technology, if you are utilizing a particular server service or a Wi-Fi service or something like that, start conversations with business partners and see what they utilize. Because if you're going to be relying on them for business, or you tend to exist in the same industry, they may be a wealth of information as far as what they use and what works for them. And more importantly, they may have already gone through pitfalls of figuring it out. So instead of taking it upon yourself to just kind of jump in and see where it goes through, like, I don't know, an industry article you read that says it's good, talk to your customers and talk to your business partners, and you will probably save yourself a lot of headaches by just going the right direction from the mistakes they've made. You can kind of skip all of that and also find a solution that they may have already scouted out for you. So that's where I'd start, because there's a lot of products on the market, a lot of really good ones, to be honest with you. So word of mouth through mutual business partners, I think, is a great
particularly in the same industry. That's really great advice. I mean, that's how you find a hairdresser. So why not data security?
Absolutely. And I do want to stress this. There are a lot of people in the market doing really good security, which is why I stress, I mean, you could buy through the products we sell here at Dell, but there's a lot of really good third market,
Mhm.
options available too. So be secure as opposed to not. That's
I
my
like that.
walkaway
Dell's a pretty
advice.
trusted name, but I appreciate you
Hmm.
pointing out that there are other options.
Of course,
Um,
of course.
Great.
And you're welcome. I think that's a
Yes,
thanks. Yeah.
thanks. So what about, this is not directly pertaining to business, but it affects a lot of people. Well, networking. There's a lot of online dating. There's a lot, particularly now, a ton of online
Yeah.
networking. How can people keep their data safe when they're navigating that landscape?
No, that's a great question. So I did online dating several years ago, so I understand that is out there. First and foremost, I know these apps. I don't know what the popular one. I'm so uncool. Sorry, everybody. I don't know what the cool apps are, but I do know that they ask for pertinent information and to get the like they'll connect to your Facebook account or your Google account and things like that. So if you're utilizing that app, I know a lot of them have functionality of like on the go swiping. So utilizing those apps will require a connection to a Wi-Fi network to do dating or app access. So if you're at home enjoying a fun beverage and are swiping utilizing the tool or the app, and you're using a secure Wi-Fi network, your home PC network, your Wi-Fi network, home is probably secure and you have a VPN on your phone, you should be fine because how you're swiping and going about it is you're using a secure connection. However, it's kind of a weird example because no one can really go out anymore. But if we are out on the go and at a bar and having a martini somewhere, I don't know what people do these days, and you are swiping at a bar and you are using their Wi-Fi connection that is not secure. You are basically putting your data, your app, your connection at risk. So it's not so much the dating app so much as the how you are connecting. And again, my talking point would be if you're utilizing a Wi-Fi network to do it, just make sure you have a clean a VPN solution or are accessing a secure Wi-Fi connection
That's good
to do your
advice. Thank you.
opportunities.
So you got
Yeah.
another question here. You said malware on phones is
CQ.
increasing. Wouldn't simply
Mhm.
resetting your iPhone every so often get rid of unauthorized malware?
Yes. So what we need to think about, and I'm saying we in large terms, it's not so much the virus that happens on the device, because a device can be cleaned and rid of a virus many times. It happens on PCs. I've had threats happen to me. I've had happen on my phone. It's normal. It's not what the threat is. It's what has the threat taken. So I could get, so your question is great. It's not so much, and my point being is, oh, it stopped my computer and there's ransomware and things like that that happen and it stops me from utilizing my device. But it's also, depending on what the malware threat is, it's combing my credit card information. It is going through my Gmail account and looking at all the things that I buy on Amazon. And now it's crawled into my Amazon account. And from my Amazon account, it's got my address and maybe devices and things that I've sent as gifts to my parents or whatever. So it's where they will crawl and what they can get access to, so much as it is the threat on the device.
We don't have any more questions. I think it's technically over. I appreciate you giving us extra time. I don't care if we talk until it cuts us off, but I think that's about to happen. So,
Oh, I'm on the clock. I don't care. I could stay here all day.
well, I definitely want to thank you once again for your time today, whether you're paid for it or not. We
Of
appreciate you
course.
being here and for representing Dell, who is our cybersecurity track sponsor and is so supportive of DSW and always provides excellent programming too. So I'm going to put one more time in this. Yeah, Dennis is
Hmm.
saying thanks. I agree. This was very
Oh
valuable
yeah.
information. And we will be uploading it to the Deck Network's YouTube channel in the coming days or weeks when we
Hmm.
recover from all of this fun stuff. And then it'll be available there. And Matt, do you want to put your contact information or?
Yeah, I will, because I'll type it, whatever. I will pass it along so you have it
Excellent. And
available
then I'll
for
put,
you, if that's
I've got
fair.
some
Yeah.
key takeaways I took down. I'll put that and the Calendly
Hmm.
link and some other stuff in the Slack channel. So you guys, if you want to check the
Yes.
cybersecurity Slack channel, that information will be available for you there to
Yeah.
perpetuity.
Yes, and I think I can probably PDF this document. We just got to make sure it's scrubbed from any Dell or
Okay, yeah, if you'll do that
customer
and
data.
then just
But
email it to me and I'll load it that way.
Absolutely. I make this available. And while I have a brief moment before
Sure.
I let everybody go, I want to just thank all of you for the great questions, but joining me on this session. I really appreciate you willing to sit through my shenanigans and dad jokes and whatnot. But, again, thank you so much for allowing me to be here today. Amber, I appreciate all your support today. And hopefully I've given you all, something to think about and
Definitely.
move forward with.
Excellent session. Thanks a lot, Matt. We'll see you
Thank you.
around.
Thank you. Take care, everybody. Be healthy and be
Yeah.
well. Take care.
Bye.